Hello, my name is Juro and welcome to another Baldur's Gate 3 build video. In today's video, I'll be showing you my assassin build, which will be a fighter rogue multiclass that will be a build that will focus around the assassin initiative niche, which is going to be the effect that gives us advantage against enemies that haven't taken a turn yet, and that gives us guaranteed critical hits against enemies that are surprised. So this build will be revolving around that niche. The build itself, I will, as I go through the levels, go relatively quickly, as there isn't too much going on since we are just a fighter and a rogue. The only things you can do is pick between fighter champion and fighter battle master. I went with the champion and then I reduced my critical hit required roll a little bit so that I can crit here and there in combat, but our main damage will come from surprising enemies. And in the first turn of combat, we can basically wipe out up to 4 enemies with the ridiculous damage of critical hits and something like the arrows on many targets due to our equipment. So let's get into character creation. So for your race, you can pick pretty much any race you want. It doesn't really matter. All races that would work quite well. Arguably, you could go with the half orc, and then if you want to do this assassin initiative in melee, so then you need additional die of damage, but that is if you want to go melee. I would suggest going with the ranged weapons, since arrows of many targets can hit 4 targets and you can crit all 4 of them. Now, as a human, we gain our Steel Militia. This gives us proficiency with spears, pikes, halberds, and glaives, and armor proficiency of light and shields. And we then get human versatility, which gives us a skill to be additional skill to be proficient in, and we can carry a little bit more. Now, for our class, we are going as a fighter. This is going to give us action surge, so 1d10 heal plus our fighter level. And then for the fighting style, we go with archery. This is going to give our ranged weapon a +2 bonus to ranged weapon attacks, which is quite nice for accuracy. For ability scores, we're going with 10 strength. You can optionally put this into charisma if you wish to have 10 charisma for dialogues instead of having a -1 at the beginning, or well, instead of having a +2, having a +1. This is up to you, but if this is your main character, I will leave it in strength. For dexterity, I have 17 here. This is going to be a main modifier for damage and combat effectiveness, and of course initiative. This will help our armor class because we'll be wielding mainly light armor and medium armor. Constitution 16, this is here named for the most part for HP, won't be concentrating any spells. Wisdom 14 is here to help us save against wisdom saving throws, such as, for example, hold person. For the skill proficiencies, for the background, you can go with any background you may prefer. I went with the Guild Artisan. Other backgrounds that are nice here would be the ones that give you sleight of hand or stealth, or both. Since we are not starting as a rogue, those can come in useful. Now for the skill themselves, since we are human, we gain 1 more skill we are proficient in. So if this is your main lockpick of the party, you would probably want to leave it in sleight of hand. If not, you could move it maybe into stealth or into one of the other ones. Acrobatics is nice. Arcana is useful here and there. It's more useful than history. History is pretty bad. Investigation is great. Nature is not that good. Same thing with religion and animal handling. Medicine is also not that useful. Survival can be nice, and then of course these dialogue skills are also pretty good since you will use dialogue quite a lot if this is your main phase of the party. But I'll be leaving it in sleight of hand. And then for the expertise, acrobatics and athletics are still fine. History, again, quite bad. Same with animal handling. Perception is great. Perception is actually quite very important. Survival is nice to have, or at least on one character, so we can help you find those buried caches. And then again, dialogue, I'll probably just put proficiency, not expertise, into it. Alright, so at level 2 we unlock action surge and we can move on. We will be going until level 6 with the fighter, so we can get our 2 feats and our extra attack. And then we'll be going to a fighter. So for the subclass, you can go battle master or champion. My suggestion would be go champion. You will be basically just a normal archer fighter after you use your assassin initiative, but since our critical hits will hit very hard, I think champion might be more worthwhile here, since in the end we'll be critting on a 17 instead of an 20, since to our armor to one of our equipment pieces, our subclass feature, which reduces the number we need to roll for a critical hit, and of course one of the elixirs. So we're going with champion here. For first feat, we're going with ability improvement +2 into dexterity. At this point, or at level 5, you can deal with Auntie Ethel, where you can get another +1 into dexterity from her reward. And also at later stages in the games, but particularly in Act 3, you can go to the Mirror of Loss to gain another +2 in your dexterity to get a nice 22. So those are your ability score improvements that you can get. At level 5 we get extra attack and we move to level 6. Level 6 we get our second feat, and here we're getting sharpshooter, a very useful and very important one for this character, as our ranged attacks do not receive penalties from high ground rules. We gain a flat bonus 10 damage boost on a penalty of -5 to our attack roll or our accuracy. Now this is going to be counterbalanced when we manage to play first against, before our enemies. We'll have advantage against them. Also, since we'll be a rogue, we'll be able to hide mid-combat to use one of our attacks with advantage, being able to toggle this on. At level 7, we will begin our multi-class into a rogue. Now for the skills here, basically if this is your lockpick and your stealth character, I would leave these as it is. If it's not, then you can remove them and then put them into something like acrobatics and athletics. Investigation is also quite nice, so is perception here and dialogue. Insight and perception are great, so you would probably want to do something like this. If this is if you want basically almost the best ones other than being just going rogue, which I'm gonna leave it for this character. Actually, I gotta remove this and like that. A little later we unlock our cunning actions: dash, hide, and disengage. We can move on to level 9. Here we gain our subclass and we're going with the assassin. So the reason we're going with this, we get the assassinate initiative. Your deadliest against unprepared enemies. In combat, you have advantage on attack rolls against creatures that haven't taken a turn yet. And since we'll have high dexterity, we'll be also taking a alert feat later on. And with our equipment, we'll be basically guaranteed to be first to maximize the effectiveness of this feature. We also get the Assassinate Ambush. Any successful attack roll against a surprise creature is a critical hit. This will be very powerful once we get all of our items. And then Assassin's Alacrity, quick as a cat in the Rain Dark City. Humility, restore action and bonus actions that are combat. So this is incentivizing you to basically start combat with this character from hidden. So we try to ambush enemies and we basically get our used up bonus actions and actions back. Level 10, we get our third and last feat, and here we're taking alert. This gives us +5 to our initiative, and if we can't be surprised, this is going to help us to be basically first pretty much all the time. At level 12, we get our uncanny dodge. We can basically take half damage as usual from any attack. So this would even work against something like the fireball. And finally, at our level 12, in the skill proficiencies, we can move these around. Now, I'll probably leave inside where it is, and persuasion, I'll probably remove it. If this is not your main character, I'll put it into athletics, but if it is, you could leave it in persuasion. It would be just fine. Though arguably, probably actually putting into perception is much better, since perception is quite important for finding levers and buttons hidden on the walls. Alright, so that's it for the levels. We'll now go into the equipment section, which might take a little bit longer, but it shouldn't be that long anyway. So I'll see you there. Alright, so here we are in the equipment section. So let's start with our weapons. So here we have two Dolor Amaurus daggers. They are basically the same. When you land a critical hit with a weapon on unarmed attack, it deals additional 7 damage. So what this means is, with these daggers, we deal at least 14 damage, or we deal guaranteed 14 damage when we crit. Now you can get 2 of these daggers. One you get from the Red Dwarf, and second one you get when you become the Unholy Assassin and the Red Merchant sells it to you. Then the last weapon, the ranged weapon, we're using the Vicious Shortbow, which has the same feature as the daggers. When you land a critical hit, you deal additional 7 damage with weapons on unarmed attacks. So now, whenever we crit, we deal guaranteed 21 damage plus our weapon attack roll. And then any other modifiers you may have from your rings, etc. So this is going to be the weapons that allow us to deal quite ridiculous damage on the first turn of combat when we surprise enemies. This is basically the weapons that the whole build is rolling around, of course, plus our assassin subclass features. For the other game alternatives, you can take the Ambusher until you get both of the daggers. This is a nice weapon which gives you +1 to initiative and advantage on perception ability checks. It gives you the Ambusher's Streak. In combat, you deal additional 1d6 necrotic damage against creatures that haven't taken a turn yet. And then for the ranged alternatives, both the Banshee is nice because on a hit it possibly inflicts frightened. You gain 1d4 bonus to attack and damage rolls against frightened creatures. And then the Blightbringer has the same effect of 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and damage rolls against gnomes and dwarves. So less useful, but nice against those two particular races. But the second effect is quite nicer. When this weapon lands a critical hit, it slows the targeted creature. So if you use arrow on many targets, it should slow down all 4 creatures if it crits them. Moving on to our headgear, here we have Sarevok's Horn Helmet. You gain dark vision up to 10 feet or 50 feet if you already have it. The number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1. We namely want it because of this effect. Dauntless is also quite nice since you can be frightened and cannot be afflicted with other emotion altering conditions. If you have Sarevok's Horn Helmet on somebody else, nice alternatives are the Covert Cowl and the Dark Justice Helmet. They have the same effect of the Covert Critical. All obscured, the number you need to roll a critical hit is reduced by 1. The Dark Justice Helmet only has the magical durability, which gives you saving throws +1 against spells. Then if you're going as a fighter battle master, my suggestion would be taking the Mask of Soul Perception. You gain bonus to attack rolls and initiative of +2, as well as perception rolls. So if you're a champion, then Sarevok's Horn Helmet, or alternatives, these two. Or if you're a battle master, Mask of Soul Perception is nice. For a cloak, we're going with the Cloak of Crowning Broom. Whenever the wearer disengages, they create a fog cloud within a 7-foot radius that lasts for 1 turn. This is great for melee enemies that try to anchor you down. You use this, make them blinded, and then you can run away and shoot them with advantage, which is quite powerful. For the armor, we're going with the Elegant Studded Leather. Gain +2 bonus to initiative rolls. We gain advantage to stealth checks, and we get shield once per short rest. So a very nice 3 per long rest use. And this, of course, helps us with us being first since +2 to initiative. For the alternatives, you can take the UNT Scale Mail or the Armor of Agility. They have the same effect of exotic material, which adds a full dexterity modifier to your armor class. So you will have a quite high armor class with these two armors. The difference between two is the Armor of Agility has +2 more armor class than UNT Scale Mail, and it gives you +2 to saving throws, while UNT Scale Mail gives you +1 to bonus to initiative rolls. For the gloves, we're going with the Crater Flesh gloves. Whenever you score a critical hit, you deal additional 1d6 force damage. Now, what is very nice for these gloves is the 1d6 force damage actually also triggers the Loramaros effect. So when you crit, the gloves themselves will deal 21 plus 1d6 force damage on top of your normal critical hit 21 bonus damage. So with the gloves and the normal critical hit, you deal 42 damage when you critically hit something, which is quite ridiculous. For the alternative, you can take the Dark Justiciar helmet with, not helmet, the gloves, which make your weapon attacks deal additional 1d4 necrotic damage. You would use this until you get the Crater Flesh gloves. For the boots, I went with the evasive shoes. This gives us acrobatics +1 and armor class +1. Namely, you would want these for acrobatics, not for acrobatics, sorry, the armor class. Alternatives for the early game, you can take the speed light feat. Whenever the wearer dashes, takes a similar action. During combat, they gain 3 lightning charges. So this is nice for a little bit of a damage boost. You can basically dash every turn of combat. And when you get lightning charges, you gain +1 to attack rolls and you deal additional 1 lightning damage. When you have 5 charges, they are consumed on your next attack and they deal 1d8 bonus lightning damage. So basically every other turn you will deal this bonus damage, on top of having a +1 bonus to attack rolls. So a pretty nice set of boots. And then, of course, as always, the Disintegrating Nightwalkers. You're immune to Enwebbed, Entangled, and Snared, and you can sleep or on grease or ice, and you gain Misty Step once per short rest. Then for our amulets, we got the Broodmother's Revenge. Whenever the wearer is healed, their weapon becomes coated in magic and deals 1d6 poison damage. This is a very nice amulet for this character, since the poison damage here can actually crit, so it becomes a 2d6, further increasing our damage on the first turn. For the second ring, or the first ring, sorry, we get the Shadowcloak Ring. The wearer weapons and unarmed attacks deal additional 1d4 damage against lightly highly obscure targets or creatures, and creatures made of shadow. So this is a nice damage boost for creatures that are hiding away in shadows from you. And then the second ring, we have the Ring of Regeneration. At the beginning of your turn, the ring activates, healing you for 1d4 hit points. This is here namely to activate the Broodmother's Revenge. If you will remember to drink a potion of healing at the beginning of your turn, you can then use the Acoustic Ban instead, which gives you +2 bonus acid damage. But of course, then you have to use your bonus action to do it, while the Ring of Regeneration will save you a bonus action every time it activates the Broodmother's Revenge. Then for some of the other equipment, so for this character, Using it at the first turn of combat, Elixir of Colossus is very nice, as it increases your weapon damage. Your weapons deal additional 1d4 damage, so this works on ranged weapons as well, so it is very useful for that. And then after the first turn, you can drink Elixir of Viciousness to lower your roll required for critical hit by 1, so now we would crit on a 17 instead of an 18 with without this elixir. Then some other equipment pieces which are nice for these characters. Arrows of Slaying. They're also very good on the first turn of combat if you really need to take something out when you have that critical hit active. Arrow Many Targets is the absolute goat here because I'll show it in the combat showcase. You can essentially wipe out 4 targets on the first turn of combat with this. And then Potion Invisibility is very important here as it allows you to set up the ambush without actually having to stealth around looking for shadows to actually creep up on enemies. This just allows you to go in and set up. Alright, so that is it for the equipment section. I will now see you in the combat showcase. Alright, so here we are the Flaming Fists barracks for yet another showcase. So before combat starts, I just want to show you the most reliable way I found of getting the surprise on enemies. So what you want to do is drink a potion of invisibility and then go into the area you want to start the fight in. Now, what we want to do is preferably go to a spot that the enemies do not have line of sight on, and we want to drink, actually let's get out of this, drink our elixir of Colossus so we gain extra damage. You want to go into turn-based mode, and I kind of messed up there, so we'll go over here. Usually I found if you're not in turn-based mode, sometimes enemies will just not get surprised, so if we have turn-based, this should work. Now Steel Watcher has perfect sentry, so he shouldn't really get surprised, but hopefully I'll be able to surprise everybody else here. So let's try to attack him and see what happens.
You were witnessed assault.
There we go. So we actually managed to surprise everybody but the Steel Watcher. So from what I've noticed is when you are hiding, you want to attack the closest character you want to surprise to you. If you shoot somebody who is very far away, you might get spotted. So, because the game takes into account the actual arrow travel distance. If you're doing melee, then that should be instant. But attacking somebody that's close to you should work most of the time. And then, of course, when you ambush somebody, you can then bring in the rest of your party, right? You can just walk them in. But that's not important. We want to look at our damage since we managed to get surprise on a bunch of these fists. So, we have our Sharpshooter all-in turned on, and we're going to use now the Arrow Many Targets. Since we have advantage on all these characters, 80% chance to hit is quite good. We could have applied Oil of Accuracy, but we have Dipped in Poison effect turned on, so there's also that. So let's take a look. Hopefully we don't miss 4 times in a row. And there you go. Since, of course, we have the Assassin, we got guaranteed crits. And let's take a look at the damage. So he was hit for 21 damage. That is the sneak attack, so 66. This is normal. This doesn't get affected by the Doloramaros effect, but our weapon attack does. So it's a 2d6 because it is a crit. This is our enchantment and dexterity. 2d4 piercing from the Shadow Thief, then 10 from Sharpshooter all in, 2d4 from the Elixir of Colossus, plus 7 from 3 times 7 from Dolores Amaros from our 2 daggers and our ranged weapon. So 51. Then the poison damage, as I said, it does crit, so it's a 2d6, and then the Crater Flesh Gloves effect. So let's see here. 3. So we got a 2 from the glove roll itself, plus 3 times 7 from the Dolor Amaros effect from our dagger and bow. So we managed to one-shot this guy since he was wounded already from our first arrow. We basically have this guy on 1 HP left, and we didn't actually hit her, but we did also get this Gauntlet Thunder. So we managed to wipe out 2 characters. So now let's use our Armor Daggers on this guy. So we critical struck him, he's dead, he had 1 HP, so not a surprise. He's almost dead as well. So let's say there's much more enemies on the field now. We can use Action Surge, and let's keep going. We took him out. The Steel Watcher got critical hit because I think this guy got critical hit, so it also transfers to him. And then let's try to shoot this annoying wizard here and see if we manage to one-shot her. And we do. And that's how you basically clear out a field of enemies with this character. But then after the first turn has passed, you will basically be just a normal fighter afterwards, since we will not be getting guaranteed crits. Then it's gonna be all about a dice roll. So that is it for the build. I hope you enjoyed. I would appreciate it if you leave the like, subscribe for more Baldur's Gate 3 content, and I'll see you in the next one.